South Carolina's Governor Henry McMaster and emergency management officials are reviewing their resources to help folks prepare for storms. They went over several checklists, some of them listing items that residents would need for a potential hurricane. The governor says any storm that hits the state would be a disaster. He says the most important thing is to save lives.
Disaster does not have to have a loss of life with preparation and understanding of what's happening. We lost 49 people in Hurricane Helene.
The Atlantic hurricane season begins June 1st and ends November 30th.
And I want to build on that. So I'm going to focus in on this hurricane season, and it all starts with the boy, and that's the translation for El Nino. So Enzo cycles, which is the El Nino Southern Oscillation, really all just depends on what the water temperatures are off the coast of South America, so south of Central America. But it's right in this zone that you either have above average temperatures or colder temperatures that literally control the flow and what our seasons will do. We're heading into what's called La Nada, and that simply means you kind of split the difference. But for hurricane season, it depends if we're either in El Nino or La Nina. And just recently, we barely visited La Nina, which is usually the worst of it. El Nino actually is less hurricanes. It's only 2023 is the first time that we had an El Nino season that was well above normal. But typically under a La Nina pattern, you have a little bit more hurricanes. So we're a little bit closer to La Nina. I think we're going to kind of split the difference for maybe an elevated season, but a little bit closer to normal. As far as the strongest seasons based on 1950, there's a special tool that we call as ACE. That's accumulated cyclone energy. And as you notice, I made it simple for us. For some of the strongest seasons, 2005, of course, had Katrina, so that was infamous for that one storm alone. That was a La Nina, but it started off as that La Nada, which is simple, the neutral range. You're seeing a lot of Ninas on here and Nadas as far as the strongest seasons go. So yes, we might not have as many storms, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to be stronger. And that's exactly what we're forecasting here. As Lisa just mentioned, the season goes from June 1st to November 30th. It can start earlier than that, and it can also end later than that. September 10th, though, that's the pinnacle. That's the top. Some of our local offices also make a forecast each and every year. Now, North Carolina State recently over the last month was calling that we could see about 12 to 15 storms. That's spot on to what we see for the La Nada cycle. That's about 14 on average, 7 hurricanes and 3 major. Last year, we were slightly above that in the La Nina cycle, and I think that we're going to kind of split the difference. I think like 15 to 18 is going to be a good chance. Now, the highest chances right now, the way the flow is going to go, per the Colorado State, which is another great office that does the yearly predictions. But looking at the South Carolina and North Carolina shoreline specifically, we have a 46% chance for a Category 1 hurricane. We stick out in the Atlantic, so it's always a little bit higher than some, so higher chances in North Carolina. And as far as a major hurricane, that's Category 3 or greater, we have around a 10% chance. So it only takes one, that's all it is. But as Master said, it's also really important to realize that even a tropical storm, if it's slow moving enough, that can cause a lot of impacts for a lot of inland flooding that we cannot really disregard. And a named storm that would be a tropical storm chance, we have about a 76% chance, and it's each and every year. Sometimes they're not named in May, that we're going to have some sort of impacts. As far as when you usually expect the most, as I showed you, the peak of hurricane season, the specific date is September 10th. That's usually when we have I names, and that's where I, the 9th letter of the alphabet, is retired the most out of any other one. But it's August, September, and October that we always have to look out for. It doesn't mean that you can't have a strong storm in June or July. It's just usually this threshold that we have things that are really ripping and roaring and the warmest temperatures. Quick look at our 2025 Atlantic hurricane names. As I mentioned, some letters I always look out for. So Imelda, I'm looking at you because that's usually one of the more retired letters. Also, Chantal is going to be another chance that we could have a potential retired storm. Shout out to Becca Bursall. We have Rebecca on the back end of the forecast as well. So maybe your name is on this list, but I'm really hoping that none of these are going to be zeroed out, but each and every year it's usually one that stands out. Sometimes a Category 5 in the middle of the Atlantic.